Maybe you should tell her not to do that again.
Raped people, they burned their homes.
And that was wrong.
Simply
That was
because
obviously wrong.
Wrong. Okay, again,
that is obviously a wrong
if you want to
thing
have an intellectual
She's addressing his reaction, but she's not addressing what the woman said.
discussion, do you think that maybe comparing her to the Grand Wizard and the notion of what she said to being a modern leader of the KKK was maybe a step too far? Or you stand by what you said?
Not really.
I stand by what I said to provoke an open and honest discussion.
My man. Okay, it's time for Vivek Ramaswamy. Oh man, Vivek Ramaswamy. He is the man. He is the man. Okay, but he's under attack. He's moved to second place in the candidate presidency. He's doing great. Some of the best things I've ever heard comes from this man. I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for my love for Donald Trump, this will be my guy. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love the guy, but I think it's Donald Trump's time. He'll be a good vice president, though. He'll be a good vice president now, even though he doesn't want that. But guess what? When Donald Trump offers you a job as a vice president, if that does happen, you think he's going to say no? I don't think so. Let's get to this video. Now, the title of this one is coming from CNN directly. It says, Ramaswamy defends comments about white supremacy and KKK. Wow. What a title. All right, let's listen.
Joining me now is 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, sir. I want to start with what I began the program with, which is this racist shooter killing 3 black people in Jacksonville yesterday. What is your reaction to the shooting?
It is such a tragedy, and my heart goes out to those families. This should not be happening in the United States of America, and it is wrong. The reality is we have a mental health epidemic in this country. There are reports that this particular individual, the perpetrator, was indeed evaluated for mental health deficiencies as well. And I think we need to have the courage in this country to bring back a practice of putting back psychiatrically ill people who pose a risk to their communities into psychiatric institutions, not just drugging them up, but faith-based approaches and other approaches that fill our longing for purpose and meaning in this country. I think it is just a shame that we even have mass shootings like this, be it the one that happened in Florida, be it the recent one, the Nashville shooter in a Christian school, killing 6 in a school. We have to address that mental health epidemic, and we need leaders with the courage to do it. But my heart goes out to those families, and I hope something like this never happens again.
Mental health is one aspect of these shootings, and apparently, and we're still learning a lot about what happened. The facts are still coming out. Also, this was very much apparently racially motivated. The sheriff there said point blank that this shooter had manifestos coming, 3 manifestos, and said specifically that he went to this dollar store with the intent of killing black people.
I think that is heinous and deserves to be called out for what it is. The reality is we've created such a racialized culture in this country in the last several years that right as the last few burning embers of racism were burning out, we have a culture in this country largely created by media and establishment and universities and politicians that throw kerosene on that racism. And I can think of no better way to fuel racism in this country than to take something away from other people on the basis of their skin color. I've been saying that for years. And I think that is driving, sadly, a new wave of anti-black and anti-Hispanic racism in this country. I think the right way forward is if we want to stop hate and discrimination on the basis of race, let's stop discriminating on the basis of race and see what unites us as Americans, because I do not think...
He's going off. But the thing is, she wants to stop him because he's on point. What he is saying is very simple. You guys talk about race nonstop, and this is why this matter continues so much. It's not so much because it doesn't exist. This is not to say KKK, white supremacists. You're not going to change that. That's humanity. That's the condition of human's heart. And that's going to happen, okay? Period. But what he is addressing is how much we focus on race in this country, how much that becomes a part of the discussion. We're not talking about it in a way to somewhat eradicate. We talk about it in a way to fuel and give life to it. And the media is one of the most racist propaganda machine in the entire world. I'm telling you, Most of this Black Lives Matter movement and all this stuff with Antifas and all this stuff that we saw during the George Floyd protests and all that corruption, it was fueled by the media, not the average common man online. It was the media who did this. Let me calm down.
This kind of racial division and any division is good for us as the United States.
I believe that there are a lot of people of color in this country who don't think it was just lasting embers of racism, but that a lot more work had to be done, particularly given the history of the systemic racism in this country.
Oh, give me a break, Donna. Give me a break. The thing is, racism is on life support. It is dying. The people who are keeping it alive is people like Donna, people like them who are consistently fueling this thing. Now, we've done a lot of good. We've done a lot of things in this country. We are not to say that the job is over. And, Barack Obama made matters worse, somebody says. Surely has. The thing is, yeah, definitely, things are not perfect. Things are not where they need to be. But we've done a lot. We've grown so much. We've walked, we've overcome so much and forgiving so much and left the evil behind and moving forward as a country. But these people are not allowing people to go forward. They keep fueling the idea over and over again. And every time a shooting happens that involves Black people, they magnify it, especially if the shooter is a white man. They magnify it on the screen. This is not to say it doesn't happen. But guess what? Black people shoot white people too. They don't talk about that. When Black people are killing each other in Chicago's and Tennessee and so on, nobody cares. But when it happens, when a white man kills and shoot a Black man in this country, automatically the news go crazy. They go crazy. And this goes to show that these people have evil intent. And that's part of my issue with them.
Country with slavery and beyond. I want to ask you about a comment that you made about white supremacy in Iowa on Friday.
I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him. Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner. And maybe those exist too.
Me too. I haven't met one. Seriously, I've never met a white supremacist. Am I saying they don't exist? I didn't say that. But have I met them, interacted with them? Have I been treated? No. I've met criminals. I've met gangsters. I've met liars. I've met bank robbers. I've met drug dealers. But I've never met a white supremacist. But I'm sure she's going to spin that around somehow.
So just because somebody hasn't encountered one doesn't mean that the notion of white supremacy doesn't exist as a threat in America.
That's not what he said.
Goes through the minds of the families of the 3 victims in yesterday's shooting when they hear you say that white supremacy is basically a fantasy?
Look how nasty of a question that was. Look, that is so filthy. That is so evil and so diabolical. Why would you connect the man's statement that had nothing to do with the shooting of these individuals? And it's unfortunate what happened with that white racist man who went to that store and did what he did to these individuals. And that should be condemned. And he condemned it at the very start of his discussion here. But the fact that she took the time to connect his words to the actual event, that is a wicked individual. I'm calling it that because that's not right. That's not what he said. And the fact you're making this connection, you're playing with people's emotion. That's not fine. That's propaganda.
Shooting when they hear you say that white supremacy is basically a fantasy.
Evil question.
I'm sure they're grieving for their loss, and I don't want to politicize those victims. Dana, this is a very sensitive situation where we should have nothing but foremost respect for those victims and not bring them into partisan politics. But I was responding to a question where someone asked me, what racism have I experienced in recent years? And I answered honestly. Most of that racism has come from the modern left. It's happening during the course of this campaign.
Yepers.
Kara Swisher calling me Ramaswamy the other day and reveling in making twists of my last name. People effectively reducing me to the color of my skin and my attributes. That comes today from the modern left. Mm-hmm. But the reality is,
do you
this is
acknowledge,
part of
though,
a
that
dogma
white
in this
supremacy
country.
does still exist in the United States?
I love how the media does this game. totally ignore the point that he made, bypass the whole idea, but focusing on the talking point that she was given to speak about. Look at that. He is addressing the matter and calling it out what it is. She does not engage with the argument. She bypasses the argument. She overlooks, she sugarcoats, and she asks the same question that he's been answering for the past 4 minutes at the start of this video. This is what you called a media propaganda machine. This is what you call dishonesty. This is what you call fueling racism right there. This is what I call real racist. I don't even think Donna and people like themselves, and I'm really coming at them because the media is such an evil company and an industry. It's an establishment that is killing the American people, and they're doing it by messing up with people's minds. I've come to realize what they're doing, and I'm learning how to discern their words and their game. The thing is, I don't even think she has any black friends. She's talking like she cares about black people. How many black friends do you have in your world? How many people comes to visit your house that are blacks? How many black children do you know? That's the question I will ask. How many black families she knows? And the fact that these white liberals sit there and acting as if they care about black people, you know you are lying. You don't care about no black person. You don't even have any black friends, most of you. And so when you're sitting here talking as if you care, as if you know what it means to be a black individual, do you really care? Do you know what it means to live among drug dealers and gangsters being shot down and having your car stolen from you and having been robbed? You don't know what that's like. So for you to magnify what this racist white man has done as if you care, please give us a break. Like, black people we should have enough discernment to know that some of these people don't really care about us and stop falling for this propaganda. And this is why I love what Vivek Ramaswamy is doing here, is debunking her view. But this woman here, she is just doing exactly she's doing the very things that are causing so much racism to be fueled in our country, as if she cared. But see, the thing is, she doesn't care. She doesn't care, because when blacks are dying in the streets, in Chicago's, in Texas, and in New York City, and all these gang violence and teen takeovers, and these people don't talk about that. They don't say anything. In Chicago alone, we have a mass shooting every weekend. Do you hear about that on the news? You have to go look for that. You have to go to the local news to even find out about this. But these people don't talk about that. But as soon as a white man shoots a black man, the world has ended. Let me show how much I love black people. Wait a minute, give us a break. Look at this. This is. I love how this person put this together, and you get the point of what they're trying to say. Look at this. It says white assailant, right? White assailant, white victim. The media, black assailant, black victim. Black assailant, white victim. White assailant, black victim. That's the media's attitude, and that's exactly what's going on here.
States.
I acknowledge that all forms of racial animus exist in the United States, including fringe branches. I mean, that's clearly what was at the head of this mentally deranged individual responsible for this shooting, yes. But I think there are many forms of mental derangement that cause us to see one another on the basis of our skin color and our attributes. And I think what we need to revive, Dana, and it's my job as the leader, hopefully as the next president, to do this, to revive our doctrine of e pluribus unum, not just celebrating our diversity and our skin deep attributes, but celebrating what unites us across that diversity. That's what we've forgotten in the United States of America. Our true strength is the set of ideals that unite us. That's my job to revive as our...
She can't wait to say something. Listen.
...next president. And I think that the next generation in particular is so starved for that, starved for commonality, starved for a nation that is unified, bigger than the sum of its parts. That's what we need to recreate in this country. And to those who say the remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination, I say no. The right remedy is actually abandoning all discrimination and moving forward with colorblind meritocracy in the United States of America.
You took it to another level on Friday, in addition to the...
Do you see what I'm talking about? She doesn't engage with the argument. Even though he's 100% correct about what he's saying, she just bypasses it. She just overlooks it. She just moves on to something else, because she will not validate, will not confirm. She will not build on the points that he shares. She just moves on to something else. That is media propaganda for you. One-on-one at his very best. This goes to show she has an agenda. She has a motive. She was giving a talking point, and she's sticking to the script. That is sad to watch.
Comment we played, you took issue with comments from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She reportedly said, quote, "We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice."
Yeah, that's a racist comment.
About that, you said, "These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK." You know, I'm sure, the KKK was responsible for more than a century's worth of horrific lynchings, rapes, murders of Black people. How in any way are the views you're talking about comparable to the views and atrocities committed by the KKK?
It's interesting that you went after his words, but the congresswoman herself who said that, she's given a green pass. It's interesting how that works out.
What I said is the Grand Wizards of the KKK would be proud of what they would hear her say, because there's nothing more racist than saying that your skin color predicts something about the content of your viewpoints
You
or
didn't
your
just say they
ideas.
would be proud. You said these are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK.
It is the same spirit. You're right about that, Dana. I think it is the same spirit to say that I can look at you and based on just your skin color, that I know something about the content of your character, that I know something about the content of the viewpoints you're allowed to express. For Ayanna Pressley to tell me that because of my skin color, I can't express my views.
He is killing her, but she is just having a hard time because she's not hearing what she wants to hear. She wants to hear an apology. She wants to hear, "I'm sorry. I want to do it again. Please forgive me." But no. He's not afraid of them.
Wrong. It is divisive. It is driving hate in this country. This is dividing our country to a breaking point.
That is a debate that is based on nonviolent discussion. That you just said you're using rhetoric, which she said she's using rhetoric. That's one thing. And another thing is to say that she represents and she is a modern version of a KKK, which, as you know, was dedicated to the subjugation and violence against Black people. How on earth?
He's right, though. He's right. In spirit, she does. Why is she promoting the same ideas of the KKK? The only difference is she's got a brown skin, but she's promoting the same spirit. So he's not wrong.
Let's be intellectually honest.
Kind of organization.
Let's be intellectually honest and get to the heart of what this debate ought to be about. There is a worldview that says that the remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. That if you're Black or brown, you have to have a particular point of view. That's from Ibram Kendi. That's from Ayanna Pressley, the people I quoted in my speech yesterday.
But can you have an intellectually honest conversation
of who you are,
when you accuse her of being a grand wizard of the KKK?
Debate.
Can you have that intellectually honest discussion with that kind of rhetoric?
She is so upset, acting like she cares about Black people and hates KKK so much. I don't personally believe that. She's just doing her job.
Yes, I can, Dana, because the point I'm highlighting is that even the people who, in good spirit, we all agree that the KKK was an awful organization that is a toxic stain in our national history. So given that we can start from that point of agreement, now that allows us to say, well, who actually sounds more like that organization today? The people who are calling for more racial discrimination on the basis of skin color. So yes, I think that is an intellectually useful starting point for a provocative discussion that we need to have in this country.
The whole point is the KKK wasn't just about rhetoric.
We have to speak openly.
They lynched people. They murdered people.
And they also lynched a lot of white people too. And this was a political movement that went against the Republican Party. That was what it was. And the KKK was the right arm of the Democratic Party. So, which you are a part of today. But the thing is, her spirit and the words that this congresswoman said about Vivek Ramaswamy was racist. And he was right for calling it out now. But she's more upset about the way that he responded to it. It is what it is. Well, maybe you should tell her not to do that again.
Raped people. They burned their homes.
And that was wrong.
Simply
that was
because
obviously wrong.
Wrong. Okay, again,
that is obviously a wrong thing.
If you want to have an intellectual,
she's addressing his reaction, but she's not addressing what the woman said.
Absolutely. Discussion. Do you think that maybe comparing her to the Grand Wizard and the notion of what she said to being a modern leader of the KKK was maybe a step too far, or you stand by what you said?
Not really.
I stand by what I said to provoke an open and honest
My man.
discussion in this country. Because there is a gap, Dana, between what people will say in private today and what they will say in public. I think we need to close that gap. I think we need to have real, open, honest, raw conversation as Americans. That is our path to national unity.
Yep.
And there are many Americans today who are deeply frustrated by the new culture
I'm
of
just not
anti-racism
sure how
that's really racism in new
provoking a
clothing.
discussion-
And we need to have that debate in the open. Dana, I think
I'm not
you're
so
doing
sure how
with
provoking a
as many in
discussion
the media do,
of
picking on some.
She is so frustrated. She's not able to get him to bow down the knee to Baal. Apologize, boy. Apologize for saying what you said about this black woman. Not this. Vivek Ramaswamy is not sorry.
Fringe comment in the context of a broader context that I was offering it in a speech.
All right, so
avoiding
you
the
just said
meat
that your
of the
comment
issue.
was fringe.
Let's have the courage to confront the meat of that. No, I'm saying you drew a
You
fringe
just
comment from a
described your
much
comment
longer
as fringe.
speech. As
She's putting words in his mouth. She's ridiculous.
I described you picking one fringe comment from a long speech that I gave to duck debate from the real issue that I think you don't want to have, Dana, because I think you probably agree with me on this. That this is toxic
I think that
rhetoric
this debate-
from leading politicians
I think that this debate
on dividing
is-
us on the basis of race. And I want to have
I
the
think
open
this
debate.
debate is fascinating and interesting and opening and important. What I did
That's
was,
the first time she validates anything. At least I give her. Anyhow, let's move on.
I do too.
explain to our viewers that you were asked a question and you took it to a point where you called a sitting member of Congress who is black, who was having discussions about race, calling her the modern grand wizard of the KKK. And I'm just not sure how that's open and honest discussion. Joining me now.
And she ends the video with that notion so the viewers can make sure they remember those final thoughts. What a shame. The fact she connected his words to the death of these black people, that was so evil and wicked. And that's what I mean by the media propaganda machine being the number one fueler of racism. They are the ones pushing racism in this country. It's not so much the people. Like, we live in a different perspective. With the average person, the average white man is not going around hating on black people just like that. They get the thought and the perspective from the media. They do. The black people who have an issue with white people, they get the thought and perspective from the media. Now, I'm not saying they cannot be radicalized and follow some group of people that are doing that. I'm not saying that cannot happen. That does happen. But for the most part, most of the racist stuff you hear in our country, the media is promoting it. They're the one promoting it. It's not people that are going around doing this. The average person just wants to live in peace with his neighbor. The Bible says, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. That is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. This right here is the solution to racism. Love your neighbor as yourself. Like that lady who made the comment about Vivek Ramaswamy, right? If she had any love for herself and will not want to be pushed back in a way that she got to push back, she would have never said what she said. You know what I'm saying? It's like dealing with children. Two children got into a fight. Oh, she hate me. So, okay, so-and-so hate me. Why did so-and-so hate you? It's because so-and-so did this to me. Oh, okay. So before you deal with Vivek Ramaswamy, you need to deal with that woman and tell her, why did you say what you said? Why did you say what? Okay, I don't agree with his words. The way he reacted was wrong, but maybe you should not have said that about him, though, right? That's how you address the issue. You call the person out first, and then you come back and address Vivek Ramaswamy. Will they ever speak to that woman who said that about Vivek Ramaswamy? No, nothing. She's black. She doesn't have white privilege. She doesn't have power. So she can say whatever she wants. I don't think so, buddy. Anyway, friends, link in the description below. Like and subscribe to the page. Click the bell icon for more. I had to keep myself together with this crazy rhetoric nonsense. But that's where we are today. This world and this wickedness. Have mercy. Lord Jesus, hurry up. Have a good one. Bye.